Chapter 41. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No, there's no hope. The doctor, who was known as the #1 expert in mud bombing, pushed open the door of the ward and shook his head regretfully at George and others who were waiting outside the door. The patient is conscious now, go talk to him, time is running out. What? George was so excited that he wanted to grab the doctor's collar, but was held down by Abe next to him. Dr. Karasaki, is this the time to do this? Abe shouted at George, and then his voice turned low and lost. Go in and talk to him, he must want to see you now, yeah. George sniffed and walked into the ward with sadness. In the room, a man with a skinny body like dry wood was lying on the bed dying. It is hard to imagine how a person went from being an energetic scientist who was not inferior to a young man to an old man who was old and weak and could die at any time in just 2 days. Seeing such an old Karasaki, George could no longer hold back, and tears flowed like a spring and grabbed the hand that Karasaki stretched out. Dad! Woo-woo! Why haven't you said anything yet? George, this time, without the disguise of a mask, Karasaki's voice has become low and hoarse. Let go, George. After being freed from his son's tightly clenched hands, he slowly raised an index finger and pointed to the research suit he often wore beside the bed, inner pocket. George was a little confused, but he quickly looked through the inner pocket of his clothes as instructed and took out a business card from it. Divine Dr. Huaqiang. 10 million. After leaving a number that sounded meaningless to George, Karasaki fainted again. When he woke up again, he felt that his ears and eyes were sharp, and his mind was no longer as chaotic as before. Except that his body seemed to be a little weak, other aspects had recovered to be almost the same as usual. Before, it was the father who saved the son, but this time it was the son who saved the father. You are an interesting family. Dr. Hua pulled his white beard and told Karasaki, who opened his eyes, be more restrained in the future. You are so old and you don't have any batches. You almost ruined my reputation. Karasaki. The next second, he realized that the doctor had misunderstood something and hurriedly explained, no, I was attacked by the devil. No need to explain. I, Huaqiang, have been treating patients and saving lives for my whole life. What strange diseases have I not seen? Don't worry, I won't despise you. The old doctor patted his arm and smiled kindly. 10 million, still the same account as last time. In addition, I am doing an event recently. After collecting 3 treatments, you can get a 20% discount for the 4th time. Consider it, Karasaki. Next time for sure, that the old doctor is knowledgeable and naturally understands the meaning of next time for sure. He immediately left with a frown, but with a strong medical ethics. He still told George and the others before leaving, the operation is okay. Papa. George was still the first to rush into the ward, and was very excited to see the old Karasaki who had almost recovered his original appearance. George, I'm sorry. The first reaction of the old Karasaki when he saw his son was to apologize. He felt that he owed George too much, but George didn't care much. No problem, I already know about Hicks' matter. George. Karasaki, who originally wanted to say a few more words, suddenly saw Abe next to him looking like he was about to say something, and immediately restored his momentum as a leader and asked, what's wrong? Did something happen during the time I was away? Alas, it was indeed a big thing. Abe rubbed his bald head and told Karasaki everything that happened in the past few days. First of all, when Akaishi gave his second speech and expressed to people the view that only submission can survive, Kif's true body appeared, and he knocked down the 2 Kamen Riders, Ikki and Daiji, with overwhelming strength, and waved his hand to turn the Phoenix warriors who dared to attack him into ashes. This terrifying strength was broadcast live by the radio station, causing countless people to panic. Gorgum, which lost its leader, had no ability to resist and could only watch more and more people believe Akaishi's lies and think that only by submitting to Kif can they face the future. In addition, a Kamen Rider of unknown origin appeared under Akaishi's command, Chimera, who made up for Phoenix's lack of combat power with super combat power. As soon as Karasaki heard it, he knew that this was definitely the work of Shik, because Shik had all his abilities, and it was not difficult for him to develop the night belt. The reason why this demon coveted George was that his son had talents that were not inferior to his father. If he could combine the wisdom of the father and son, he would become the most powerful demon scientist in the world. Fortunately, Shik has not succeeded yet, the last and most serious problem. What? Guanghong is missing. Karasaki had a bad premonition when he heard that Gorgum was leaderless, but he didn't expect that the worst situation would really happen. What happened? Did he lose to Keith? I don't know. After he talked to you and left that day, we never saw any trace of him again. No matter how hard we looked, we couldn't find him. Karasaki? It's bad. I didn't tell anyone that he was going to the desperate base to look for Akashi that day. Karasaki suddenly opened the quilt and shouted anxiously, desperate. Go to the desperate base to search, he must be there. Chapter 60 Prelude to Evolution. Under the desperate base, the ruins of the ancient palace were blown to pieces by the energy erupted by the ancestor demon when it was resurrected. It should have collapsed at that time, however. A thick stone pillar miraculously stood on the top of the underground world, supporting the place from collapse. However, if you look carefully, you can find this miracle. It's man-made. A black figure that is quite small compared to the stone pillar is pressing against the bottom of the stone pillar, using its solid body to act as the foundation for fixing the stone pillar. Ha! Blu-ray Red breathed out gently. He no longer knew how much time had passed, nor whether it was day or night on the ground. His physical strength is almost exhausted, and now he relies solely on his will to support his body. Can't fall down, otherwise. Akashi didn't say what would happen if the place collapsed, but he knew that a large piece of the ground was suddenly blown up, and a chain reaction would cause horrific disasters on the ground, so, don't fall down yet. Light red. That's enough. Phalia begged with a tearful tone, leave, you will die if you continue like this. It's okay. The red light in his eyes lit up slightly, and blue light Hongqiang comforted him, don't forget that I am the son of the sun. As long as there is a sun in this world, I will not die. Don't worry, we will be fine. After comforting Faria, he thought about the people he knew in this world, Yukimi, Genta, Karasaki, Ikki, Daiji, oh yes, and Abe, dear friends and family. You guys, hurry up and save me. Just as he was praying, there was a slight ding sound in his ear. Lan Guanghong suddenly raised his head and looked towards the place where the sound came from, but the sound disappeared after one ringing. Is it an illusion? He shook his head in disappointment, laughing at himself that the reality would not be as coincidental as in the tokusatsu drama. No, it's not an illusion. Faria suddenly floated out of his body in the form of a demon. She looked at the stone wall above her head, twitched the tip of her nose twice, and shouted in surprise, it's Ikki's demon, rescue is here. Aha, Ikki is right, there is indeed space down there. The illusory body Weiss penetrated the stone wall and was about to check if anyone was there, but unexpectedly saw Faria flying towards him. Immediately he screamed in fright, wow, there is a devil. No, I'm a devil too. Thinking that Ikki was above him, Weiss put his hands on his hips and said proudly, who are you? How dare you stand in my way, Lord Weiss? I am the demon of light red. Faria forcefully interrupted Weiss's trick and pointed in the direction of the stone pillar, go tell Ikki and the others that light red is down there, and ask them to come and save people quickly. Go now. If you dare to delay, I will let Ikki cover you in the screaming chicken and pinch you 100 times a day. Go, just go. Weiss returned aggrievedly, muttering, as fierce as Master Lan, he really deserves to be his devil. Faria had no intention of talking to Weiss at this moment. She floated in front of Lan Guanghong and was delighted, they are here. If we persist a little longer, we will be out of trouble soon. Well, great. After hearing the good news, Lan Guanghong finally breathed a sigh of relief. Shortly after Weiss returned, the sound of a drill was heard from above, and some pebbles kept falling. Finally, there was just a crisp click sound, and a warm light suddenly lit up in front of the blue and red eyes. Happy bathhouse. Lan Guanghong held a large bowl of curry rice and wolfed it down, finishing the bowl of rice in just a few minutes. Aha, I'm alive. He piled the empty bowls on top of the pile of soup bowls on the table and wiped his mouth with satisfaction to show that he was full. George was stunned when he saw the blue light and red appetite for the first time. As for Yukishir, the mother and daughter who were cooking, they were so tired that they couldn't even lift their hands. Your appetite is even more amazing, Guanghong. Nonsense, you've been trapped for a week, you can still eat it. He opened a can of olmi tauntaun and ate it. Blu-ray Red looked at Yuan Tai, who was very different from before, and raised his eyebrows and asked, memory restored? Well, I remembered it all the day Keith showed up. Yuan Tai said, casually taking out the bell driver he once used from the back of his waist, putting it on the table and pushing it towards George. Dr. Kakurazaki, can you help me transform this into one that doesn't require a demon? No. George shook his head decisively. Yuan Tai's face stiffened. Abe quickly smoothed things over and said, Genta, it's not that the doctor doesn't want to help you, it's because our organization has no funds. Blu-ray Red, Yuan Tai. That's it. Even the development work of Ihue and the heir's new Sin Seal was forced to stop. George raised his eyes and spread his hands. I can't help it. How can I still be short of money? How could I, the great Galgam, be reduced to this situation? Lan Guanghong looked distressed. When George heard this, he lowered his head in shame. It's all our fault, father and son. The two treatments used up the organization's savings and caused trouble for the idol. As the leader, I have to solve this problem for everyone. When the topic changed, Lan Guanghong began to pat his chest to confirm. Tell me, apart from funds, is there anything else missing? For example, equipment and so on. Yes, yes, yes. George's eyes lit up, and he quickly uttered a bunch of terms that normal people couldn't understand at all. Lan Guanghong had a headache listening to it, and he stretched out his hand to stop him, saying, Stop. Give me a list later, and I'll get it for you tomorrow. Okay. George took out his portable notebook with a happy face and started to make a list on the spot. At this time, Ihue lifted the curtain and walked into the lobby, shouting to Lan Guanghong, Master, the water is already boiled, and you can take a bath at any time. Okay, I'll go now. Lan Guanghong put his hands on his knees, glanced left and right and asked, Does anyone want to go with me? That everyone present immediately shook their heads like rattles. George was a little different. He looked embarrassed, tangled for a long time, and finally shook his head regretfully to refuse, although he also wanted to take a bath with his idol. After being trapped underground for 7 days, Lan Guanghong's body smelled not much different from that of an old zongzi. When scalded by hot water, the smell was sour and refreshing. Seeing no one responding, Lan Guanghong pursed his lips and stood up to go to the bath. The huge bath was empty. Today, the bathhouse was open only for him. Stepping into the water and sitting down, Lan Guanghong relaxed and let out a long sigh, feeling that all the cells in his body were alive again. Comfortable. After soaking for a while, he raised his right hand and narrowed his eyes slightly. The power of the Emperor's Stone was activated, and his hand appeared in the form of a knight, but it did not transform. Lan Guanghong just wanted to confirm the extra thing on his wrist. It was a golden square ornament with a red mark on it like the face of a knight. Lan Guanghong recognized this thing. It was the sequel to Black in the play, the ornament on the right hand of Kamen Rider Black RX, in other words. Hiss, could it be that I am going to evolve? Chapter 61 Overnight Revenge. Lan Guanghong didn't know when this accessory appeared. After he came out of the repaired underground ruins, he found that there was such a thing on his wrist. Chapter 42. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. It is probably the pressure of the extreme environment plus the power of the Emperor's Stone that made the right hand show signs of evolution, Lan Guanghong guessed. As for why it is not in other places, he thinks that it is probably because he uses his right hand more often, so this place is the first to change. Don't get me wrong, it refers to the Night Fist, from the usual battles. It can be seen that his ultimate Night Kick is the red color of the Emperor's Stone, but the Night Fist used in the right hand emits a golden light representing the sun. As for what it is used for, it is not known yet. However, the signs of evolution are always pleasant. Henshin. Lan Guanghong's eyes revealed a firm look, his hands slid left and right, and then suddenly clenched his fists. With a fierce flash, he turned into a Kamen Rider. No, that's not right. The transformation was lifted. He frowned and thought hard, and suddenly his eyes lit up. With a firm light in his eyes, he slid his hands left and right, and then suddenly clenched his fists. Hen Shin. After a flash, he transformed again. Ah! What on earth are you doing, you idiot? After so many days of anxiety, Faria, who finally had a good sleep, was repeatedly awakened by the noise of Lan Guanghong's transformation. She angrily picked up a pillow and threw it at his face. Give me a little more. Faria, you're just in time. Lan Guanghong slapped the pillow she threw on the sofa and waved at her. Come and see, how is my new transformation posture, Faria. You learn the posture. Why do you want to transform? Because it's soulful. Lan Guanghong explained seriously. Look, my hen. Pa. Faria took a few steps to Lan Guanghong, stretched out her hand to pinch his cheek so that he couldn't speak, and took out the chameleon sin seal with the other hand and covered herself. Chameleon. A burst of black mist rose and quickly disappeared, but the Faria standing in front of her turned into a large Faria. No, it should be said that this is her original appearance, except that the wings on her back and the mask on her face are missing, and the clothes on her body have not changed. At this moment, the pajamas that originally fit her human form well were stretched out like a fun suit by her suddenly changed plump body. Her slender little snake waist and plump and elastic thighs were exposed, and the buttons at the collar were broken, revealing the snow-colored peaks and bottomless ravines. The effect of the sin seal is 1 hour. Faria slowly moved her hand down on Lan Guanghong's cheek, and finally pulled his collar in front of her, throwing a teasing look at her face. Now, do you want to continue practicing here? Or come upstairs with me, Lan Guanghong? Gulp. Omit some special content that everyone doesn't like to see. Early in the morning, Faria dressed and washed normally. Although she is essentially a demon, she has completely regarded herself as a human being. When she is not in Lan Guanghong's body, she will live like an ordinary person. For example, now, she is brushing her teeth, she holds the handle of the toothbrush covered with toothpaste and puts it into her mouth. As the toothbrush keeps going in and out, the paste secretes a lot of foam in the warm mouth, and then sticks to the toothbrush and flows out from the corner of her mouth. A piece of foam accidentally slipped off her lips and fell directly on her feet. Faria pulled out the toothbrush and stared at the foam on her feet. For some reason, she suddenly looked sad and swallowed the food in her mouth subconsciously. Faria. What's wrong with you? You look listless. Lan Guanghong approached Faria, who was sitting cross-legged on the sofa with her knees hugged, curiously. Didn't you sleep well? Do you want me to talk to Karasaki and ask him to postpone the mobilization meeting for 2 days? No, I can go. Faria saw that Lan Guanghong was in high spirits and looked like he was going to do something big, and asked, Are you going out? Well, I said yesterday that I would get some funds and scientific research equipment back, and I have to keep my word. Where are you going to get so many things? Of course I'll go to Phoenix. Lan Guanghong smiled slightly. By the way, take a look at this old guy Akaishi. If conditions permit. Kill him completely. Lan Guanghong said this with murderous intent. Trapped in the dark underground for 7 days, if Faria didn't accompany him to talk, he didn't know if he could hold on. He will take revenge today. Standing alone in the square of the Phoenix building, he looked at the people queuing to get their seals. Silently, under Akashi's propaganda, many people have worshipped Keef as a god, believing that as long as they stamp a seal, they can get the favor of God, have a stronger body and a better future. Humans are full of desire for conquest, but at the same time, they are the easiest to be deceived. Lan Guanghong has no intention of exposing Akashi's lies, because the first time he was able to successfully expose Akashi's conspiracy, it was because he didn't know that there was a secret organization that wanted to oppose him, so Gorgum was able to take the lead, but now the advantage is in Akashi. If he does that again, it will play into the other party's hands, and the result will only be dragged into his field of expertise, and Lan Guanghong and Gorgum will be labeled as public enemies of mankind. So, Lan Guanghong came today, and there is only one thing to do. Fight. There is no need to let the people know the truth, nor to consider their feelings. As long as the enemy is defeated, everything will be written by the winner. The security personnel around have noticed Lan Guanghong, who has been standing still for a long time, and they surrounded him secretly. Ha! Lan Guanghong chuckled, and then suddenly pulled off his cloak. Hen Shin, that the sudden flash of light attracted everyone's attention to him. That is Kamen Rider Black. A person in the queue exclaimed, didn't Commander Akaishi say that he was defeated by Kif? What Black? The commander said that he is just a demon who imitates appearance to deceive people. Don't be fooled by him again. A middle-aged man showed disgust on his face and spit on the ground to express his contempt for those who pretend to be idols. I don't know what he is going to do, anyway, stay away from him. This is the thought of most people present, and soon, the square that was originally full of long queues was empty. Blue light red didn't move until a yellow Kamen Rider walked out of the base gate, then he turned his head slightly to look at the other party. Chimera? Humph, it's you, Azuma. Chapter 62 The Great Sword of the Sun's Kidney Shot. Enemies are particularly jealous when they meet, and there is no need to say more. The two knights walked quickly and finally ran towards each other. As the distance approached, the two punched at the same time, and the two iron fists, one black and one silver, collided head-on, making a loud bang and sonic boom. As a result, Blue Light Red had the upper hand in this punch competition. Azuma was beaten and stepped back, and the bricks under his feet were crushed. TSK, I thought he would be so strong, but it turned out to be just like that. Blue Light Red shook his hand disdainfully, suddenly kicked the ground and jumped up, raising his knee to hit Chimera's head. Azuma quickly raised his hand to block, but the huge force still hit him backwards and lost his balance. Next, it was Blue Light Red's flurry of attacks. Heavy fists kept hitting the opponent, beating Asma like kelp dancing in the waves, but how rich was Asma's combat experience? He blocked or avoided most of the damage, and found an opportunity to suddenly pull the Sin Seal on his waist, Crocodile Edge. Blue Light Red. The crocodile's big mouth formed by the gathering of genetic energy opened its mouth and bit Blue Light Red, and its sharp teeth seemed to cut the prey into pieces. He quickly withdrew his hand and turned to defense, and there was a crunch chewing sound that made people's teeth ache. Blue Light Red's body was full of fire, and the sparks were mixed with a lot of crocodile tooth fragments. Finally, there was a crisp click, and this crocodile head made of energy bit itself into pieces. However, Asma also took this opportunity to quickly leave Blue Light Red and pulled out the Sin Seal of Chimera on his waist. I have fully understood your power. He pulled out the Sin Seal on his waist and replaced it with another purple Sin Seal with 3 creatures printed on it. Game on, Kamen Rider Daimon. 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 The 3 Sin Seals of Octopus, Rhino, and Centipede constitute the Kamen Rider Daimon, who has the symbol of a strong man and looks extremely evil. Oh, Azuma screamed to the sky, what a strong pava. Humph, little guy, do you think I don't recognize you just because you changed your eyes and shoulder armor? Blue Light Red shook his hand, rushed 2 steps and punched the opponent in the face. Bang. This punch was held tightly by Azuma. Blue Light Red. Octopus Edge. Damon seized the moment when Blue Light Red was distracted and launched a special move. 8 octopus tentacles made of energy stretched out from his right foot and hit Blue Light Red's chest heavily with the kick. The Blue Light Red who was hit felt as if his chest was hit by a 100T sledgehammer. He flew backwards involuntarily, hit the outer wall of the building on the other side, and fell down in a mess, half kneeling on the ground, covering his chest. Fortunately, the injury was not serious, just a little suffocating. He looked up at his opponent in surprise. It was just an extra animal gene, but the ability could be improved to this extent. That demon named Shik, oh no, should I say that Karasaki's scientific research ability is so abnormal? He can actually create a Kamen Rider whose ability is better than mine. Hiss, it's so terrifying. Now, my power is greater than yours. Azuma threw away his cloak, his tone full of pride. Today, I will definitely judge you. Humph, you little devil, you don't know how high the sky is, you dare to speak wildly, you don't take me seriously at all. Lan Guanghong slowly stood up and hooked his hand at him contemptuously. Come here. Azuma, who was ridiculed, was furious and shook his hand to turn the sin seal again, Kurosai edge. The power of the rhino gene gathered in his right arm, and Damon attacked Lan Guanghong like a running rhino. Lan Guanghong did not show any weakness, raised his right hand, and ignited a golden flame. Rider. Just when he was about to release the Night Fist to fight the opponent, Lan Guanghong suddenly had an inner movement. The Emperor Stone burst out with red light, echoing with the power of the sun accumulated in his right arm, as if something was about to be born from it. For some reason, he did not swing his fist, but placed his right hand in front of the Emperor Stone. The next moment, the energy originally gathered in his hand was completely absorbed by the Emperor Stone, and the light of the belt changed to gold. In the surprised eyes of Lan Guanghong, a ray of light stretched out from the belt, and after a flash, it turned into the shape of a hilt. This is it, he excitedly grasped the hilt, and the red windmill on it immediately began to rotate rapidly, pulling it out hard. The sword body shining with blue light also fully appeared. It's you. Lan Guanghong held the sword in front of him and looked at the weapon with joy. Revelcane. The Revelcane was originally supposed to be the weapon of Kamen Rider Black RX. Although it looks inconspicuous, it is one of the strongest weapons in the history of knights. Its characteristics are very simple, so simple that it makes the enemy terrified, that is, whoever is stabbed will die. From the monsters who are not ranked in the Klesi Empire to the Emperor of the Klesi Empire, all enemies are treated equally, and if you stab it, you will die. Chapter 43. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Oh, there is an exception, and that is the weirdo Cadre Bazagang. Because he provoked Minami Kotaro so much that he was destined to die with one strike, he was stunned and gave him another sword. He was honored to be the only one who was stabbed twice by the spiral sword. The enemy of the inferior waist. Now, this supreme and powerful sword that stabs anyone to death has come into the hands of Lan Guanghong. Although he failed to evolve into RX, it is equally joyful to get such an artifact. Very good. Let's try it. The blue light red sword pointed at the head of the rhinoceros that was rushing toward him, and he launched a counterattack. Heretics, accept judgment. Unforgivable. Devil. In the flash of lightning, the sharp rhinoceros horn collided head-on with the tip of the spiral sword. The two needles faced each other. Purple and blue light burst out instantly, turning the square into a large-scale light pollution scene, but soon, the purple light slowly disappeared, and finally only the dazzling blue light remained. Soon after, the light slowly dissipated, and the figures of the two people in the field reappeared. Blu-ray Red approached Asma at close range. He held the sword in both hands, and the other end of the sword had been buried in the opponent's abdomen. Countless sparks spurted out from Asma's wounds. Yeah. He exerted force again, and the tip of the sword came out of his body, stabbing the devil through. Oh. His body was filled with the sun's rays, and Asma was stiff and unable to move. He felt as if this power was about to melt his soul. This is not his imagination. A scarlet page floated out of his body. It was the contract between him and Keith, but now this chapter of the contract was modeled and was soon completely engulfed by the surging golden flames. This meant that his contract with Keith was ended. He is no longer immortal. When he was about to die, Asma breathed out, raised his hands, and watched as his body turned into golden light spots bit by bit, drifting away in the wind. Is this the sun? It's so warm. Lan Guanghong remained silent, drew his sword, turned around, drew R, and posed, all in one go. Boom. There was a violent explosion behind him. Chapter 63. The decisive battle is coming. After the battle, Lan Guanghong casually held a sword flower in his hand. He suddenly had a whim and carefully touched the blade of the sword with his hand. He found that it was neither hot nor sharp, just like a long stick that was slightly warm. Wow, what a good baby. Under the mask, Lan Guanghong showed a crazy smile and rubbed the sword blade against his face. Click. The clear sound of taking pictures came from not far away, and the blue light and red face froze. Look, let me tell you, it's definitely black. Well, the spinning sword is only available to Black RX, right? Why does it appear before he evolves into RX? Yakamashi. In short, you don't need to be so clear about the Kamen Rider. People who had been hiding not far away appeared one after another. Some took out their mobile phones and cameras to take pictures, and some even started live broadcasts on the spot. Ahem. Lan Guanghong coughed dryly, put the spinning sword into his belt, and continued towards the gate of Phoenix. Sir Black, please wait. A brave citizen actually ran up to Lan Guanghong, raised his cell phone and asked him, Sir Black, what are you doing in Phoenix today? You want to clean up this place? No. Lan Guanghong looked up at Akashi who was standing by the window and peeked down, and responded calmly, since I found out that Commander Akashi was controlled by a demon, the misunderstanding between him and me has been resolved. So what? Are you going to come to Phoenix to cause havoc for no reason? The reason why I came here today is actually because I discovered that the demon who once disguised himself as a human and controlled Commander Akashi is still alive and transformed into a chimera and controlled him again, so I'm here to help him today. If you don't believe it, you can watch the surveillance. The demon released his transformation before he died and showed his face. At this point, he suddenly shouted, is that so? Commander Akashi. Upstairs, Akashi's face turned red and the corners of his mouth twitched, but in the end, he picked up the microphone next to him, turned on the big screen in the square and responded, yes, I found an opportunity to send a distress signal to Master Black while I was under control. He came here specifically to save me today. Thank you very much, Lord Black. Akashi gritted his teeth and bowed, then immediately turned off the broadcast. That's it. Lan Guanghong nodded facing the camera, I still have things to do next, so I won't say much. Chowded he was welcomed into the base gate by Phoenix's people in full public view. At this moment, people were in an uproar. In other words, were all the previous orders given by Commander Akashi controlled by demons? So Black and Gorgum are actually real? Hey, that's not the problem now, right? Don't forget that we have all been stamped with sins. Now think about it, there won't be any problem with that sin mark. Needless to say, the problem must be big. A large group of people argued for a long time and finally came to a conclusion, since Phoenix is so unreliable and the commander can be exploited twice by the devil, then we can only find another reliable organization. Yes, they decided to defect to Gorgum. In fact, Master Kifu has no ill will towards humans. He just wants to create a world where demons and humans can coexist harmoniously, so we have no reason to be hostile. Akashi tried hard to persuade Lan Guanghong through the remote instrument. Master Kifu said that as long as you are willing to surrender, willing to cooperate with us, he can hand over all the people on this planet to you for management, and you will become the only king in this world. Bah, daydreaming. Lan Guanghong spat and said impatiently, stop talking nonsense, prepare the things for me, and I will go up and stab you in the waist if you say one more word. Akashi, the instrument was turned off, and he really retreated honestly. Lan Guanghong sneered disdainfully, crossed his legs and drank the black tea brought by the doctor. Regarding Akashi's initiative to give in, he was just trying to talk nonsense. But Akashi still cooperated. Lan Guanghong was not surprised by this. From his usual behavior and the fact that he surrendered to Kifu and became a traitor to humanity, it can be guessed that Akashi is actually a person who is quite afraid of death. It was just that he dared to act recklessly because he relied on being a Kifu contractor, but now, after witnessing Azuma, who was also a contractor, being stabbed and blown up by a sword, and even the contract was burned, and clearly realizing that Lan Guanghong had the ability to completely kill him, Akashi naturally became cowardly. Speaking of which, Akashi originally trapped Lan Guanghong underground, but did not kill him at that time, because he was afraid that he would suddenly do something incredible like in the drama, and finally become a terrible opponent that even Kifu could not deal with. But unexpectedly, Lan Guanghong still evolved. Although it was not complete, it already had the ability to kill him. So, want money? Want equipment? Want people? Take it, don't be polite. Just don't come up and stab my waist. Lan Guanghong gladly accepted it. After defeating Azuma, his anger had subsided a lot. It was not impossible to let Akashi live a few more days. When everything arrives at Gorgon, with the joint efforts of Karazaki and his son, the strength of our personnel will soon usher in an explosive growth. At that time, it will not be too late to kill him. Congratulations, congratulations. Slurp. It tastes good. Lan Guanghong licked his lips, thinking that the person who could make such black tea must be a talent. What's the name of that female doctor? That's right. Mikashiba Akemi, let's pack it up and take it away later. It was a happy decision. Not long after, under the full operation of Phoenix, Lan Guanghong drove to his own organization with 4 trucks of supplies and talents. Upstairs, Akashi stared at him with scarlet eyes and watched him leave, his hands creaking. Hey, this is not what we agreed on. Behind him, Shik protested to Akaishi in dissatisfaction. His laboratory was almost emptied, and now he can no longer continue his research work. The only thing he can use is another chimera belt. Yes, this is not what we agreed on. Akaishi came back to his senses and looked at Shik indifferently. You said that Kamen Rider Damon is invincible, and Blue Light Red will never win. Shik. Why don't you revive Azuma first? If you can do it, I will immediately get all your things back. Shik tilted his head for a long time without saying anything, and finally silently turned into an illusory body and sank into the ground. His Akaishi took a long deep breath and barely calmed down the excitement in his heart. Just wait for me. He pulled off his gloves and looked at the devil's eye in the palm of his hand. In a few days, Master Kifu will definitely crush you all. Kifu had just been resurrected, just like a vegetative person who had experienced a long sleep suddenly woke up, and it took a long time to restore his body functions. When the original demon is fully recovered, it's time for the decisive battle. As the title says, this book will be published tomorrow. For a newbie who has been writing books for the first time since childhood, I really feel so scared, vibrating. Thank you all readers for your support. Well, I don't really have anything to say, but according to convention, I have to post a comment before publishing, so I'll just say a few words. Let me first talk about why I decided to write Black. First, there are many Night articles in Malka, but I found that there seems to be no one who wrote Black. So although I know that Black is less popular than Zio, Kuga, Saka, and Xiao Ming, I still decided to write him. Popularity does not equal popularity. Another reason. To be honest, I want to take advantage of the popularity of Black Sun. But I never expected that the 50th anniversary commemorative work would leave me with a face full of question marks after reading it. That's it. The story is so bad. If it wasn't all 10 episodes released at once, but 1 episode a week like Zongzi, I guess I would lose my pants by the end. In a way, it's quite self-aware. As a result, it didn't get any popularity, and it encountered a month-long silence, which almost broke my defense. Fortunately, I wittily swore a poisonous oath in advance, and finally I managed to survive. Funny. Next, let's talk about the direction of this novel. First of all, the label is Infinite Flow, but it basically only enters the world of Knights, but there will be a guest appearance of a team member in the midterm activity chapter. Dong, dong, dong. The current confirmed direction is the Levis chapter that is about to be completed. Black Sun, short story, 01, Foi's, Ono Decade, short story, Old Driver, theater short story, Fengdu Detective. The main content will be inserted into the chapter, and some key characters and enemies of Gorgon will appear from time to time, consistent with the settings in the play, but not the original characters, such as Lee Hume in the protagonist's dream is the Sky Priest, but not by Hume, the identity of the protagonist, and the entanglement with Shadow Moon and the King of Creation will be presented one by one. The rest is undecided. At that time, I will probably ask for the opinions of the masters to see what to write next. Next, let's talk about the update. I am very good at my coding efficiency, so I won't offer a reward. If I open a reward, I will feel uncomfortable if I owe less chapters, and I can't make up for the more chapters one owe. I will type slower when I am anxious, and it will be a vicious cycle, so I won't open it. It is more important to ensure stable updates, but I still have to update tomorrow. As for how much I can code, I will guarantee 5 updates at the minimum. Finally, as usual, I would like to thank all the readers for their support. I hope that I can continue to write stories that make everyone happy in the future. Chapter 64. This night is not a night, since when, people have discovered that there are some strangely colored clouds in the sky. These clouds are always twisting and surging, as if there are countless demons hidden inside. Is the storm coming? Lan Guanghong looked up at the clouds floating in the sky and murmured in a low voice, "It seems that it will speed up." Chapter 44. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. No, I can't do it. Hearing the voice from the front, Lan Guanghong suddenly lowered his head, his eyes shot at Xiaoying who was lying on the ground. How can a girl say she can't do it? Stand up and fuck the devil for master. Hearing this, Mirage, who had his back to him, rolled his eyes and silently complained in his heart, "You are the real devil here." Master, Mirage rolled his eyes. Xiaoying pointed at the devil who had just beaten her up and complained to Lan Guanghong, "Mirage, you are so good." He grinned at Xiaoying and showed an extremely healthy smile, and then with a bang, he cut Daer back. Lan Guanghong, Xiaoying. So soon, Xiaoying can transform? Daer, who had just returned, looked at Xiaoying expectantly. It shouldn't be possible yet. Xiaoying sat up and wiped the dust off her face, a little dejected. On the day when Kifu was resurrected, the second-generation Kifu cells inherited from her body were also stimulated, and the demon Lapkov was born, with 2 brothers as role models. Sakura, who possessed the demon, naturally wanted to become a Kamen Rider, so after consulting Yakimi and Genta, Sakura also obtained the driver and Sin seal. However, she tried countless ways, but she still couldn't transform. After asking her 2 brothers, they said that it was probably because of insufficient awareness. As for how to solve it, then we have to ask the omnipotent Master Lan. After hearing this, Lan Guanghong did not disappoint them and proposed a very simple solution. That's right, it's special training. There is no problem that can't be solved by a special training. If one doesn't work, then another one. Due to his identity, he couldn't do it himself, so he called the second year to do it. But the embarrassing thing was that the normal second year couldn't beat Sakura, so he had no choice but to change to Mirage. Next, it was the opening scene. Don't be anxious, and don't be discouraged. Blue Light Red squatted down and patted Sakura's head, encouraging her, "Try it first, maybe it will work this time." Sakura sniffed and stood up, taking out her simple blue driver, Cobra. She pressed the seal of Sin, covered it on the belt, and then pulled it to the right. Henshin. No response. A breeze blew, bringing the autumn chill, and also chilled Sakura's heart. Woo Sakura squatted on the ground and cried aggrievedly, not even caring about the driver rolling to the ground. Why am I the only one who can't do it? Am I so bad? Woo. Facing the crying little niece, Blue Light Red was also somewhat helpless, and could only comfort her dryly. Well, don't worry too much, nights are always full of uncertainty, and you may succeed next time. Sophomore, it wasn't like this when you scolded me and my brother. The blue driver rolled to the feet of Daer. He picked it up and looked at it curiously, then, he saw a hidden switch at the back. Daer. Turning the switch to the on side, the driver immediately emitted a loud and energetic female voice, "Labura driver." Upon hearing the voice, Sakura looked up in surprise, and her tears stopped instantly. Daer turned the driver in a speechless direction and pointed to the switch hidden behind the driver to Lan Guanghong and Sakura. Lan Guanghong, Sakura. Fuck. Why is there a switch? This is not a toy produced by a certain generation of brothers. Lan Guanghong stood aside and complained angrily, "Damn it, 2 grown men and a girl tossed for so long, but the switch was not turned on. If others knew about this, wouldn't they be so funny?" Well, Professor Karasaki said it was an early work. Maybe he thought it would be safer to add a switch at that time. Daer scratched his head and reluctantly found a reason for Karasaki's strange idea of adding a switch to the belt. If you want to say early, my diamond's belt is earlier, and there is no switch on it. Actually, there is. Faria suddenly interrupted. Blue Light Red. Is there? Why didn't I find it? Because I welded it shut. Smart. Blue Light Red gave Faria a thumbs up. At this time, Sakura in the field was ready to transform again. Although she was tossed for a long time, the joy of transforming into a Kamen Rider still made her smile with uncontrollable excitement, until the belt made a wild standby sound. What happened? What happened? Happened. Sakura's smile froze on her face. It seems to be the language of an ancient oriental country, but what's wrong with this tone? Super grass Not wanting to hear the devilish sound again, she quickly turned the seal of sin to complete the transformation. Release myself. I'll go my way, Kamen Rider, gender. Time seemed to have stopped. After the transformation, Sakura froze in place. Lan Guanghong and Daiji stood at the edge of the square like puppets. Only the cute snake-shaped puppet demon who had just gained a physical body excitedly surrounded Sakura and kept shouting Labu, Labu. A gust of cold wind blew, bringing the coldness comparable to winter, and also froze Sakura's heart. After taking off the belt to cancel the transformation, Sakura looked ashen. It's better not to be a Kamen Rider. Karazaki, in what mental state did you make this belt? Lan Guanghong placed the liberation driver in front of Karasaki, and said with dissatisfaction, my little niece was so angry that she only ate 6 bowls of lunch. What if she is hungry? Karasaki widened his eyes and was a little unbelievable for a while. Can Sakura eat so much? Shaking his head, he turned his attention back to the main point, picked up the belt and asked, what's wrong with this belt? You still say. What's the sound of the transformation? My turtle, it's scarier than the low hum of the ancient god. Huh? Karasaki frowned in confusion, and recalled for a while before remembering what happened. Oh, there were a lot of things at that time, so some unimportant content was outsourced, and then this belt has not been used, and I forgot about it. He connected the circuit to the belt and muttered, how terrible can a sound effect be? What happened? Send. Snap. Karasaki unplugged the circuit very quickly and admitted his mistake decisively, it's my mistake this time. Leave the belt here and take it away tomorrow. I'll modify it. After a pause, he changed his words and said, forget it, let's make a new one. This belt can't be used. Blue Light Red. Chapter 65 Close Combat. After talking about the liberation drive, Blue Light Red turned his eyes to the computer screen and stared at a Kamen Rider setting picture displayed on it. Who is this knight? This one. Karasaki turned his head and smiled proudly. This is the Kamen Rider designed by George, named Juga. Juga? Blue Light Red raised his eyebrows slightly and instantly understood the meaning of the name. This name is not simple. Juga, first of all, can be literally translated as 10 drivers. The design drawing shows that this knight is a knight system that controls the abilities of 10 biological genes and can transform without demons. In addition, from the shape and pronunciation, it is obvious that it is a tribute to the first knight of the Heisei era, Kuga, and it is the ultimate Kuga, which also reflects George's ambition to create the strongest knight. Let me see. Shit. Seeing the data at the bottom, Lan Guanghong burst out a word engraved in DNA. Punch force 92T, kick force 240T. He stared at George with wide eyes, pointed at the knight on the screen and asked, Little George, is he here to kill me? He doesn't want to see RX like this. He is going for Chimera, or Shik. Old Karasaki waved his hand to signal Lan Guanghong to rest assured. In addition, this is only the maximum value that can be exerted in theory, and the actual data is not so exaggerated. Well, so. He was a little relieved. As for why he targeted Shik, he could think of it without asking. First, it was Shik that caused them to be separated for decades and could not meet each other. In the end, when he materialized, he caused old Karasaki to be seriously injured and dying, which can be said to be the revenge for killing his father. Secondly, Shik has the wisdom of old Karasaki, which means that the chimera he developed can also be regarded as the final masterpiece of old Karasaki. So, if he can develop a knight system with better performance than chimera, wouldn't it prove that he has completely surpassed his father? So, Juga came out. The 2 sin seals of Chimera only have 5 kinds of biological power, so Juga has 10. It can be said that regardless of the idealistic outbreak, excluding the blue light red, he is the strongest Kamen Rider in the world. Well, the power of scientists is really terrifying. Lan Guanghong sighed, and suddenly found Huadian. Why is George's research data here with you? Because he hurriedly tested the newly created night system, his body has been pineapple. Old Kazaki pushed his eyes, so now I will take over and perfect the system before he is discharged from the hospital. Lan Guanghong was speechless for a while, and took out his mobile phone for a while and asked, "Do you need to call Dr. Hua?" "Thank you, I have already called." After a few days, the clouds in the sky not only showed no signs of dissipating, but gradually spread, almost dyeing the entire sky scarlet, even blocking the sun. The rulers still perfunctorily lied to the people with lies that were obviously nonsense. They didn't care about the panic of the people at all, and only thought that they could become more superior people after Kifu came. The people had no choice but to listen to the perfunctory lies and squat at home, waiting for the unknown future to come with fear. In the city, there was a dead silence. At the Gorgum base, Blue Light Red's heart moved, and he looked up at the direction of Phoenix in the sky. Here it comes, that he could feel a malicious gaze piercing through the building in front of him, staring at him intently. It was the original demon, Keef. The last boss of this world has finally appeared. Blue Light Red smiled slightly, waved the long sleeves of his gold-threaded white robe and stepped onto the podium, looking at the rows of well-trained warriors below, as well as the Igarashi family and the Karazaki father and son in the front. He smiled with satisfaction. "Everyone, I am the leader of Gorgum, Blue Light Red. Another name is Kamen Rider Black. In this world, I have only one purpose, and that is to destroy the evil ancestor demon, Kifu, so that people will no longer suffer the disasters caused by the demon. Of course, demons are not all evil. I know some people, even myself, who have formed a deep relationship with demons. Therefore, I hope that everyone will not regard small kindnesses as most of the evil, and classified into the category of evil." After delivering an impassioned speech as the leader of Gorgum for the first time, Lan Guanghong pushed away the podium and began to transform in front of everyone. Henshin, a strong light flashed, and Blue Light Red transformed into Kamen Rider Black. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's just that this transformation is a little different from usual. Blue Light Red, who turned into a knight, has much fewer biological characteristics. He is no longer as ferocious as before, but he still retains the elements of an insect. It's even more similar to the Kamen Rider in the show. Evolution continues. After taking a brief look at the changes on his body, Lan Guanghong clenched his fists and pointed forward suddenly. The enemy is in Phoenix. Everyone goes out and prepares for a decisive battle. Facing the gloomy sky, Gorgum's battle brigade launched an attack, heading towards the Phoenix base in a mighty manner. On the other side, Akashi, who was still sitting in Phoenix, noticed the movement here for the first time. "Haha. Want to come over? It's not that easy." He smiled evilly and spread his hands, the devil's eyes in his hands emitting an ominous light. "Let you first feel a little bit of Lord Keef's power." Above the sky, black clouds suddenly surged rapidly. Amid people's exclamations, one by one the Keef apostles burst out of the clouds and fell like dumplings. These Keef apostles did not take the initiative to hurt anyone, but after landing, they ran on all fours in the same direction, and the direction they gathered was the team led by Lan Guanghong. Enemy attack. All D troops are out, follow me to meet the enemy. Abe stood at the top of the convoy and issued combat orders. Then he took out something from his body and smiled at Kadota beside him. "Kadota-kun, get ready." "Are you ready?" "Of course." Kadota took out the same item. "Bet my life to protect this world." "Hey, what a great realization." Abe nodded, and he and Kadota put the item on their waists. Kamen Rider Demons. Kamen Rider over Demons. At the same time, Troop D, who received the order, took out their belts and sin seals and quickly completed the transformation. For a moment, the outer layer of the convoy flashed with light, and the sound of continuous transformations filled the sky. Mass-produced Timon's troops, ready to go into battle immediately. Chapter 66. The decisive battle begins. Leave it to us here, you keep moving forward. Abe and Kadota, who were using the modified Timon's belt, shouted to everyone while commanding their troops to fight the incoming demons. I understand, then it's up to you. Lan Guanghong did not hesitate. He knew that as long as the ancestor of the devil was eliminated as soon as possible, these rebellious Keef believers would disappear, so, now just move forward. Genta, follow me. He stepped onto the battle locust, twisted the handle to start the engine, and relied on the powerful impact to knock away the demon blocking the road in front of him. Behind him, Yuan-Tai drove an off-road vehicle and followed closely with his children. Not long after, several people arrived downstairs at the Phoenix base. Today's base has lost its usual solemnity, and the entire site and its surroundings are as dead as a cemetery. In the dark clouds and mist above, the ancestral demon in the space rift lowered his head slightly, with two malicious glints in his pupils. Keef, the sophomore who jumped out of the car, looked bitterly at the source of all the sad events, and took out a double-sided drive and a white flying wing-shaped sin mark. Mirage, please lend me your power. Okay, remember to pay back with curry rice. As soon as he finished speaking, the white flying wings were stained with dark color. Perfect wing. Weiss, let's go together. Ikki put on the Levis driver and held the sin mark engraved with wind and thunder in his hand. Weiss was as energetic as ever. Oh ho ho. We really have to go together this time. It's so embarrassing to merge with Ikki or something. Wow, ha 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 ha. Ha, it's on fire. Thunder Gale, Thunder Gale. As long as I have my brother and the others by my side, I am invincible. Sakura also took out a new belt that was completely different from the Liberation Drive, but more like the Chimera Drive. This was made by Karasaki using the Chimera belt recovered from Azuma. Its performance is not as good as the original Chimera, but as a night system, it is considered a relatively outstanding one. Moreover, it is also thoughtfully paired with a new sin mark, Queen Cobra, Queen Cobra. Yuan-Tai. He pointed at himself and saw that his daughter seemed to have no intention of changing her words, so he could only smile bitterly and put on the new driver modified by Bell Driver, the Stream Driver. Looking at Bell, who walked out with a kaishi from the entrance of the base, Gentai looked serious and determined, took out the sin seal on his belt and stamped it. Let's end it, Bell, Hercules, Hercules. Hey, you are finally willing to appear in front of me, Junpei. Bell scratched his chin with his index finger, and his tone gradually became cruel. In the past, it was for that kind of woman, and now it's for these brats. Obviously we are partners of life and death, Junpei. Suddenly waving his arms, Bell roared and threw out a few feather arrows, kicking off the battle. Henshin, the knights of the Igarashi family transformed collectively and made reasonable use of their invincibility time to block Bell's surprise attack. Fugitive, Furii Levis, Perfect Labe, and Queen Jean stood side by side in front of Akaishi and Bell. Hee, interesting, really interesting. Chishi clapped his hands and gradually turned into the appearance of Kif Demos, looking very cool. Foolish humans, Lord Kif will let you know that in this world. Shut up. Lan Guanghong shouted, and Clang pulled out the revolving sword from the Emperor Stone at his waist and pointed it at Chishi. Frozen. TSK. Cowardly rat, broken-backed dog, dare to bark in front of our army. Lan Guanghong turned over and got off the car and rushed to Chishi. Today I will take your dog's life. Chishi retreated in horror, and even used the wind in his boxing to escape quickly. Lord Kif, help. Hearing the cry for help, Kif, who had been watching the show for a long time, had a red light flash in his eyes, and suddenly a dark cloud fell from the sky, wrapping Lan Guanghong in it, and then the cloud slowly rose and flew into Kif's territory. The crack slowly recovered, and the figures of one man and one demon disappeared from everyone's sight. Akashi breathed a sigh of relief silently, and stood in front of everyone again and taunted, "Give up, Master Kifu's power is invincible, Blue Light Red is dead." What a joke! Ikki retorted angrily, "Master will not lose to any enemy, especially demons like you. Humph, stubborn. Akashi suddenly spread his arms, then let me wake you up. As he moved, a thick black smoke suddenly gushed out from the base behind him. The black smoke fell on the square and gradually gathered into the shape of Kifu believers. The knights were as if they were facing a great enemy, picked up their weapons and looked at the black smoke cautiously. The black fog flowed back and forth, and it seemed that it was trying to act according to Akashi's orders, but it could not condense a complete Kifu believer. Finally, the black fog puffed away, leaving a demon with half of its head and arm missing. Knights. Weiss tilted his head and touched his head. Is this guy joking? No, it shouldn't be. Ikki cast his eyes towards the inside of the base. Could it be? Akashi also realized something, turned his head and glanced at the base, and whispered hatefully, "Tsk, Shik." Inside the Phoenix base, the few people who trusted Akashi or were willing to become minions of the devil were transformed into believers when Kif came, and now they have become nutrients for another devil. In this way, there will be no more guys in the way. Shik touched his stomach, burped, and laughed with satisfaction. Cha-cha-cha, it's great to see you, little George. I don't want to see you at all, forever. George Karasaki pushed his gold-rimmed glasses that were the same as his father's, took out the sin seal and pressed it. Juga. Cha-cha-cha, it's really ruthless, I'm obviously your father too. Shik put on the Chimera driver and laughed creepily. Try Chimera. I'm not interested in talking to you, disappear. George covered his belt and made the same transformation pose as Kuga. Henshin, explode. Roar. Surpass. Kamen Rider, Juga. Go over, towards the end. 10 creatures of different colors gathered into the armor on his body, and the black and gold body was faintly revealed in the black fog, just like the terrible warrior from ancient times. Kamen Rider, Juga. Chapter 67 Another ancestor demon. The clouds dispersed, and Lan Guanghong quickly looked around. Everywhere he looked, there were red and purple spheres, floating like cells in this scarlet world that made people's SAN value drop wildly. Look carefully, there is a life form in each sphere. There are creatures that look like octopuses, life forms that glow all over their bodies like plants, and humans. These are all people who have signed a contract with the devil. Kif, who was standing on the seal floating in the air, spoke in an unexpectedly gentle voice. After completing the contract, their life energy will belong to me, and this life energy is called soul by you, which is my favorite food. What? Lan Guanghong turned around suddenly, staring at Kif. You treat the most important life as food. So what, don't humans always treat other lives as food? Kif's head moved slightly, and there was a little joy in his voice. Moreover, humans taste much more delicious than other creatures, so I gave this race enough time to let them reproduce and prosper. Such a world is a paradise for me. Why are you telling me this? Lan Guanghong split a sphere that floated to his side, trying to see if he could get the life inside out. As a result, the life quickly dissipated in this world as the sphere broke. As Kif said, what exists here are not real life forms, but souls. Because I'm very interested in you. Kif continued with interest, as if he hadn't seen his movements. There is a demon in your body, but I can't feel the contract between you, nor can I get your soul. Lan Guanghong raised his eyebrows. So what? So, I want to taste you myself. As if he was talking about the trivial matter of eating bread, Kif spread his hands. Although this will lose a lot of the deliciousness, it's better than not eating anything. Ha ha, what a joke. Lan Guanghong laughed in anger, stepped on a floating sphere to gain leverage and jumped up, and then gained leverage several times in mid-air, quickly approaching the floating platform where Jifu was. In order to satisfy your greedy appetite, you dare to use people's most important lives as your reserve food. Lan Guanghong shouted angrily, unforgivable. Jifu, the spinning sword chopped down on his head, but Jifu did not dodge, but stretched out his hand to hold the sword. Zazila, the harsh sound of oil boiling over a raging fire sounded, and a light red smoke came out of Jifu's hand holding the sword, but what surprised Lan Guanghong was that this hand did not show any signs of injury. Instead, several nearby spheres exploded like bubbles, and the souls inside quickly dissipated. Lan Guanghong was startled and quickly drew his sword and retreated, but Jifu took this opportunity to pursue him, stretched out his hand to summon the nearby soul balls to gather in his arms, and turned into several basketball-sized fireballs that sprayed towards Lan Guanghong, as he swung the sword to destroy the soul balls. The blue glowing red hand holding the sword trembled slightly. Chapter 46. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Did you find it, Knight? Keith moved his fingers. The souls of this world are the source of my power. Attacking me or the attacks I launched consumed their souls. Moreover, some lives have completed the contract, and I have received their souls, but their bodies may still be alive normally. Keith hooked his fingers and summoned 2 soul balls, blue light red. Daijyu, Sakura, that the 2 balls were filled with the appearance of Daijyu and Sakura, who curled up in the small balls as if they were sleeping. But blue light red knew that the 2 people's bodies were fighting outside now. How could it be? Why not? Keith rushed to say, if they want to give up the dark side and want to give up their own weakness, the devil will help them do it. Well, it's really an intoxicating taste. Do you want to try it? Stop! Blue light red shouted anxiously, rushing towards the devil regardless of everything. Kif chuckled and waved his hand to create a Kif illusion in 3 other directions. Then the 4 demons sent arc-shaped attack beams at him. The lightning-like beam instantly hit blue light red, and he screamed and his body became stiff. Give up, no one in this world can be my enemy, huh? The attack suddenly stopped, and Kif looked at his hand in confusion. At the same time, blue light red also noticed something unusual. He half knelt on the ground, put his hand on his chest, and asked in confusion, Felia, is it you? Yes, it's me. Felia slowly stood up from blue light red's body, and spread her purple wings to float in the air, but this time, she was no longer an illusory body, but a real body, without the help of Diamond's drive, the real body in the demon form. It seems that I can control this world too. As she said this, she crossed her hands in front of her chest, then suddenly raised her head and spread them out. Purple energy gushed out from her wings as she moved, and soon dyed the nearby area into her color. Keith was shocked. What? How is it possible? That he quickly raised his hand, wanting to use his ability as the original demon to control Faria and make her stop. This is his innate ability. All demons that come from his power contract can be forcibly controlled by him, but this time, this ability actually failed. Keith. This is the first time that the original demon has seen such a terrifying scene in its long life. It is obviously a false life born from his power, but it is not under his control, but instead competes with him for control of the nest. What is this? Another original demon? Stop. Without time to think, Kif, whose position was threatened, lost his composure and waved his hand to annihilate a large number of souls. Don't defile my world. Felia was stunned, and the action of eroding this world suddenly stopped, but at this moment, Lan Guanghong suddenly moved. He stepped forward quickly, holding the sword with both hands and stabbed Kif's waist. If the other party had it, seeing this, Kif hurriedly wanted to connect the soul ball to resist the damage for him, but he suddenly found that the originally smooth and instinctive action was now like a network frame, becoming intermittent. Looking up, I saw that it was the female demon who coordinated with the knight's action and stretched out her hand to him to interfere with his magic operation. Kif. What the hell is this? I thought I caught a delicacy, but it turned out to be an ancestor. Seeing that the revolving sword was about to pierce his kidney, Kif, who knew the power of this sword from the contractor Azuma, did not dare to take it head-on. Seeing that there was no way to avoid it, his eyes flashed with ghost fire, and he raised his hand to block the blue big sword that was stabbing. Clang. With a crisp sound, a broken limb flew up. The demon ancestor roared in shock and anger. Chapter 68 The incredible thing happened again. At the cost of one hand, the ancestor demon dodged the kidney-stabbing sword of Lan Guanghong and forced him back. Under the surge of magic power, the missing arm quickly grew back, but the humiliation of being injured was deeply engraved in Kif's heart. How dare you humiliate me like this? Kif waved his hand again, and 4 floating soul balls turned into light wheels and attacked Lan Guanghong. Lan Guanghong raised his sword to meet it, but who knew that the light will actually avoided the revolving sword as if it had consciousness, and flew straight to Lan Guanghong, behind. No, the target is Faria, that the reacting Lan Guanghong had no time to turn around to rescue, so he turned around and threw something out in a hurry. The object flew straight to Faria at a speed faster than 4 light wheels. Go in. Lan Guanghong shouted. Faria looked at it intently, and saw that the flying object was the diamond's driver. Without time to think about it, she turned into an illusory body and crashed into the driver, but the driver was unfortunately scratched by a light wheel, and a hideous gap appeared on the panel, and some sporadic sparks burst out, running a few steps and jumping up. Lan Guanghong reached out and took the diamond's driver into his arms and fell down. Faria, how is it? It's okay. Faria reappeared from the belt and turned into a physical body. Seeing that she was safe, Lan Guanghong was relieved. It's a pity that this one is broken. Faria took the damaged diamond's driver from Lan Guanghong's hand, and her face showed reluctance. Diamonds is the Kamen Rider that can only be transformed by blue light red in her. Although blue light red has never changed into this posture after defeating the desperate crowd, they have always carefully preserved this belt. Now, in order to save her, this belt is damaged. It doesn't matter. Blue light red stood in front of her and faced Kif. The belt is broken, you can ask Karasaki to repair it. No need to fight with Kif for control, just interfere with him, and leave the rest to me. Yeah. Faria shrank behind blue light red and responded softly, I know. Seeing the two of them like this, Kif's eyes were blazing with anger. I can tolerate robbing my territory and cutting my hands, but you actually gave me dog food. I am the original demon, don't I have any face? The furious Kif waved his hands, trying to turn the nearby souls into light wheels to continue attacking, but Faria's interference came at the right time, spreading his wings to interrupt his magic connection. Blue light red seized this opportunity, holding the boomerang sword and slashing at him again. There was no other way. Kif could only activate his ability, exchange positions with a soul ball, and avoid blue light red's continuous attacks. Blue light red. He kicked the sphere in front of him away, looking at Kif floating in the distance, a little confused. Damn, there is such a trick. Isn't this a shameless thing? Hey, is this the extent of the dignified demon ancestor? Come and fight me like a man. I have no concept of gender. Kif answered seriously, then waved and summoned a few soul balls, turned them into fireballs and threw them at blue light red. Blue light red chopped the fireball and looked at Kif angrily. Damn, my weakness was discovered, can't fly. At this moment, a pair of arms in black leather passed through his armpits, and then his body took off into the air. It was Faria. Blue light red can't fly, but she can. However, this was useless. Faria, who had flown up, had no time to interfere with Kif. Instead, he was able to let go of his hands and feet, switching positions continuously and attacking with fireballs and light wheels, which made the knight and the female demon combination embarrassed. This won't work. Back on the floating platform, Faria continued to interfere, but sporadic attacks were still shot at blue light red. He could only resist the attack while thinking about how to defeat the opponent. First, he must find a way to get close to the opponent and prevent him from escaping. Secondly, judging from the interference Faria could cause to him, Kif did not control these soul balls with his mind, but established a connection through the magic power released by his body before he could control them. If you want to stop Kif from using his abilities, you have to find a way to cut off this connection. Damn, what should I do? The action of swinging the sword was a little out of shape because of anxiety. Suddenly, he accidentally glanced at the golden ornament on his wrist, blue light red. By the way, I am the omnipotent Shoaguabi, why do I have to find a way myself? Isn't it a good choice to leave the response method to the Emperor Stone, or to something incredible has happened? Having made up his mind, Lan Guanghong suddenly put away his sword and took a fireball. Bang. The impact made Lan Guanghong retreat several steps. Faria. Why? You can block it. Believe me. Lan Guanghong grabbed Faria's hand. Come back first, I have an idea. Faria looked at him steadily, then turned into an illusory body and returned to his body. Very good, that he spread his arms and calmly welcomed the full-strength attack from Kif. Come on, try harder, haven't you eaten? That's it. Poor and weak. Kif, you are a parasite, Seeing Lan Guanghong resisting his attack and constantly spitting trash, Keith was so excited that he condensed his anger into a huge fireball with extraordinary power and suddenly smashed it towards Lan Guanghong. The Emperor Stone on his waist glowed slightly, and Lan Guanghong's eyes shone. He jumped up and met the huge fireball, boom. The violent explosion briefly illuminated the space in golden red. When the flames of the explosion dissipated, Lan Guanghong was no longer there. Did he finally kill him? Keith breathed a sigh of relief and looked up at the sky. From this battle, he learned a lesson, that is, never pull something you don't know into your nest casually, otherwise you may not eat delicious food, but get a face full of mud. What are those blue light spots in the sky? Just when Keith was wondering when these luminous objects appeared in the space, those blue light spots suddenly turned into sharp needles and poked Keith from all directions. Keith! Before he could react, countless fine needles like cow hair pierced Keith's heart, causing Keith, who had not felt pain for a long time, to scream loudly, What is that? Countless blue dots of light merged together and turned into a ball of light blue luminous liquid that flowed randomly, and finally the liquid turned into a human-shaped entity. Chapter 47. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. That was a blue night completely different from black. At this time, something incredible happened. Lan Guanghong made a gesture with both hands, pulled out a slender sword suitable for chopping from his waist, and shouted, I am the Angry Prince. Bio Rider. Chapter 69. Towards the end, changed. Keith was startled and raised his hand to release an arc attack to test the ability of the Bio Rider, but as soon as he started to use his magic power, he felt a tearing pain in his body, and he groaned in pain. What? The operation of magic power was cut off. He raised his hand to check and was surprised to find that there was a blue liquid under his arm. After completing the task, the liquid quickly swam away, waiting for the next operation of magic power to cut it off. Today is your doomsday, Kifu. The blue Bio Rider turned into liquid again and flew towards Kifu at high speed. Before he stood up, he suddenly appeared and raised his sword to chop the enemy on the head. Keith repeated his old trick and raised his hand to block the blade, but the biochemical blade went straight through Keith's arm and slashed heavily on his head and skull-like face. Keith was dizzy for a moment after being attacked in the vital parts. Good opportunity. The light blue liquid flew out of Keith's body and returned to blue light red. The completed Bio Knight stabbed Keith's abdomen with both hands holding the knife. During the process, his body shape suddenly changed and switched back to Black's posture, and the biochemical long sword in his hand also turned into the fatal boomerang sword over there. Clang! Sparks flew everywhere, and it hit the soul. The demon screamed in pain. Under the burning of the sun's energy, the body of the ancestor demon became stiff, and the shell cracked inch by inch. How is it possible? Keith used up his last strength and roared unwillingly, how could I die here? Draw the sword, turn around, and pose. Behind him, there was a violent explosion, boom. Outside, Phoenix Base Square Kakashi, who had been resurrected several times in a row, suddenly froze. Master Kif. Kif Demos's appearance quickly faded, revealing his original appearance. Then, he aged rapidly. No, it's impossible. How could Master Kif lose? How could he? Before he finished speaking, he had already turned into a ball of dust and was blown to a beach somewhere by the wind. This sudden change made the three Igarashi siblings who besieged Akashi stunned. Master, he won. I think so. As the siblings talked, they turned their eyes to their father and Bell. There was no winner in their battle, because no matter which side won, the other side would also die. The wounded Yuenta lost his night look and lay on the ground exhausted, muttering, Hey, Bell, that's enough. Come back to my body. On the other side, Bell, who was also lying on the ground and gradually turning into a purple light spot, laughed wildly for a while, and suddenly asked in a low voice, Don't you hate me? The one who hates you is Shiranami Junpei. Yuenta smiled heartily. What does it have to do with me, Igarashi Yuenta? Really? You are not the man I want to avenge. Bell raised his hand and placed it on Yuenta's heart, but I will not forgive you. Yuenta. Guha. Yuenta took a big breath, felt his heart beating, and laughed with relief. It's over. The three brothers and sisters hurriedly surrounded their father to check his injuries. Ahem, it's okay. Yuenta showed his signature silly smile. Dad, I also. Before he finished speaking, he rolled his eyes and feinted. Igarashi siblings. It's really like Dad's style. Sakura said casually. Ikki and Daiji nodded in agreement. At this moment, the middle floor of the base building exploded, and a golden-black meteor hit Damon and flew out of the building. Juga, amazing finish. The meteor fell to the ground and exploded violently. In the smoke and dust, George walked out slowly with a stern face, facing the astonished faces of the three people, and suddenly smiled crookedly. Hi, I didn't expect it, I'm also a Kamen Rider. Ikki pointed at the proud George in horror and shouted, Dr. Karazaki, your clothes are burning. George. The scarlet space began to collapse rapidly with the death of Kif, and those imprisoned souls also turned into invisible energy that ordinary people could not see, and flew back to their respective bodies. It's a bit bad. Blue Light Red muttered, and then stretched out his hands, ready to use the Emperor Stone Flash to break the space wall and return to the world. King. Ugh, a strong feeling of exhaustion came over him, and he turned back to human form uncontrollably, and it was difficult to even move his body. What's going on? Just when he was confused, the Emperor Stone sent a message to answer his question. Blue Light Red understood in his heart. In short, it was because he was forced to evolve into a posture that he couldn't control, and his body couldn't hold on. The Bio Knight was originally a knight who could only freely transform from the RX posture. The basic throwing power was equivalent to RX, which was about 3 times that of Black. The consequence of forcibly transforming into a Bio Knight in Black's form is that the physical energy is exhausted and falls into a cooling period after severe overload. Fuck. There is such a thing. Blue Light Red was shocked and hurriedly called for help. Felia, help. I can't get out. Felia's voice sounded extremely anxious. In fact, when she found that the world was collapsing, she wanted to come out to help Blue Light Red, but she was horrified to find that she couldn't get out of Blue Light Red's body, not even the illusory body. Blue Light Red, oh no. Forget it, let it be. I won't die anyway. The space around him shattered inch by inch, but Blue Light Red could no longer resist the fatigue brought by the overdrawn body, and closed his eyes peacefully. Just when the broken space was about to squeeze Blue Light Red's body, a purple wind tunnel suddenly appeared and swallowed his body. The next moment, everything about the ancestor demon was completely wiped out. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, a month has passed. During this period, Akashi's evil plan was exposed, and Gorgum became a regular to replace the original Phoenix and took over the handling of demon-related events. At the Igarashi family, Ikki has removed his identity as a Kamen Rider and concentrated on managing the bathhouse at home, vowing to make every guest who comes to take a bath feel happy. Daiji took the position of Gorgum's combat commander, mainly responsible for handling combat missions caused by the remnants of the demons, but judging from the decreasing number of sin seals wandering outside, such incidents will soon be completely extinct. Sakura, still honestly being her high school girl. Challenge successful. Yuenta, who has been challenging weird things for decades, finally ushered in his first success, and was as excited as a child in his 50s. Congratulations, husband. Yukimi smiled and brought out a bucket of curry rice. Why do you have to make so much? Sakura is not at home. I made too much by mistake. Yukimi rubbed his hands. It doesn't matter. Maybe he will come to finish this bucket of rice. Genta nodded in agreement. That's right. Gorgum headquarters, a staff member hurriedly knocked on the door of the laboratory and reported to Karasaki, who was busy. Dr. Karasaki, the combat locust in the warehouse suddenly disappeared. Karasaki's hand trembled slightly, and then replied calmly, I know, you go and get busy. The laboratory returned to silence again. Old Karasaki slowly straightened up, adjusted his glasses and smiled. That's exactly what happened. Well, good luck to you, Kamen Rider. Chapter 70 Black Clash. I have a dream that there will be no more racism in this world. A world where weirdos and humans coexist harmoniously. Slurp slurp. The value of life between weirdos and humans, on this earth, is not even 1 gram different. Lan Guanghong glanced at the girl on TV, and then focused on the ramen in front of him. Slurp slurp. Ah, I'm full. Lan Guanghong leaned back in the chair, touched his stomach and made a satisfied sound, putting the big bowls on the pile of bowls on the table. Lan Guanghong snapped his fingers and called the clerk. Check out. This customer. The clerk looked at the pile of bowls with a horrified look, took out the bill, calculated it, and said, 8,400 yuan. Lan Guanghong took out the stack of money from his pocket and counted it, his face stiffened. Hey, do you have any activities here? For example, Big Eater Challenge or something? I'm sorry, no. Alas, that can't be helped. Lan Guanghong slowly stood up, his eyes shot at the clerk like lightning. Go call your boss. That the clerk was frightened by Lan Guanghong's power, and tremblingly said hi. And hurried to the back kitchen. Few minutes later, outside the ramen shop. Boss, look at this big baby, strong and powerful, shiny skin, high pitch, deep bass, and look at this butt, very elastic. Lan Guanghong slapped the seat of the fighting locust, making a very elastic and crisp sound. Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ramen shop owner. I'll just leave it here, and I'll go get the money to redeem it later. The owner thought for a moment and made an okay gesture. Blue Light Red gave the owner a thumbs up and smiled sincerely. Half an hour later, the fighting locust returned to Blue Light Red, who was walking on the beach to digest his food. Ah, you're back. Blue Light Red rubbed the fighting locust's round head angrily. Luckily you're here, otherwise I'd starve to death. The praised fighting locust made a happy beeping sound. Unlike a useless demon who can't even sleep with me. Feidian was furious and rushed out to hit Lan Guanghong's head. You are such a heartless bastard, I will never help you again even if I have a physical body. No, I'm just kidding. If you take it seriously, you will lose. Lan Guanghong immediately became scared and took out the money on his body and counted it again, then sighed with a sad face. Alas, it's not enough. It's so hard to make money, and it's so easy to spend money. It's really hard to survive. You eat too much. Feidian complained unhappily. Also, what you call making money is to sell the combat locust and then let it run back at night. What's the problem? Lan Guanghong spread his hands. I sell cars by my ability, and it comes back to me by its ability. It's reasonable. Guanghong, you have successfully refreshed my bottom line of your cognition. Congratulations, now you know me better. Feidian was speechless. Speaking of which. Lan Guanghong lay on the sand, looking at the sun in the sky with a confused look on his face. How did we get to this world? I don't know, I couldn't see anything at that time. Feidian was also confused. When I was able to get out of your body, I had already come to this world. It's strange, there are weird people in this world, but their positions seem a bit. Forget it, it's more important to think about how to make money now. Lan Guanghong scratched his head and turned his eyes to the fighting locust on the side. Or, sell it again. Be a human being, the owner of the car dealer will cry. It doesn't matter, we will sell it to another one this time. As soon as he said it, Lan Guanghong stood up with a carp, patted the dust on his body and stepped onto the motorcycle. Let's go, fighting locust. The fighting locust honked excitedly and ran onto the road with a beep. After riding for a while, Lan Guanghong suddenly found that there was something wrong with the middle-aged man coming towards him. He was carrying a girl on his shoulders. Good fellow, how dare you kidnap a girl in broad daylight? Stop. Lan Guanghong stopped the motorcycle, flipped in the air with a taku, and jumped in front of the middle-aged man. Put that girl down. The middle-aged man stared at Lan Guanghong with cold and murderous eyes, and said coldly, I won't hand her over to you. If you don't want to die, get out of here. Lan Guanghong, Feidian. Okay, you have guts. Lan Guanghong clenched his fists and made a click-click sound. I have never seen such an arrogant person since I grew up. Seeing that Lan Guanghong was about to take action, the middle-aged man put the girl on the side of the road without saying a word. The next moment, the man suddenly accelerated and rushed towards Lan Guanghong, punching him in the abdomen. Lan Guanghong's eyes condensed, he dodged the attack sideways, and chopped the attacker's neck with his backhand. Bang! The slash hit the target, and the man's eyes widened. Under the influence of inertia, he staggered forward a few steps and fell to the ground. Humph, poor and weak. Lan Guanghong clapped his hands and walked towards the unconscious girl without looking back. He was very confident in his strength. Ordinary people would definitely be dizzy after being hit by this, which was enough for the man to have a good sleep. Stop! The man's roar suddenly came from behind Lan Guanghong. He turned back in shock and saw a burst of white steam coming out of the man's body. Weird. Lan Guanghong frowned. He had seen the weirdos in this world once in the parade 2 days ago. This was the scene when they transformed, and those weirdos had a characteristic, that is, they had a peculiar smell on their bodies, which was a mixture of rotting flesh and wild animal body odor, which was very unpleasant, but this man did not have this peculiar smell, which led Lan Guanghong to mistakenly judge him as a human, so he was not strong enough to knock him out. Oh! The man roared, and his body was covered by a layer of black substance, which then quickly condensed into a shell, and he turned into a complete monster. Locust monster, and... Blue Light Red looked at his waist in astonishment. Belt? How can a monster have a belt? Could it be a Kamen Rider? Forget it. Looking at this situation, the battle is inevitable. Then, Blue Light Red clenched his fist with strength, and the Emperor's stone belt on his waist appeared. Henshin! The deep red light shone all over his body, and in the blink of an eye, Blue Light Red had turned into a Kamen Rider. This time, the locust monster on the opposite side was also shocked. Monster? Why is this monster tasteless? I thought he was an ordinary person and underestimated the enemy, and, why does he have a belt? And it looks like a locust species. Not a monster. Blue Light Red clenched his fist and posed a fighting posture towards the other party, saying, I am Kamen Rider, black. Man, no. Nan Kotaro looked confused. Chapter 71, Throwing Oneself into a Dead End. Nan Kotaro was stunned for a moment, then quickly came to his senses. No matter why the other party was so similar to him, whether it was a monster or a Kamen Rider, they were all enemies now. Enemies must be defeated. The locust monster crouched down, suddenly jumped out like a beast on all fours, and after running for a distance, suddenly jumped up and jumped towards Lan Guanghong. His fingertips shone with a crystal luster, and it was obvious that they were extremely sharp. Lan Guanghong didn't know the details of the monsters in this world, so he didn't dare to greet them, so he took a step back to avoid the other party's claws, ready to wait for the other party to stand up and then hit him in the chest, but he didn't expect the other party to be unscrupulous, and opened his big mouth directly after landing, rushing over to bite his waist. Lan Guanghong was shocked. Gone, my kidney. Crack. With a crisp sound, the locust monster dunked and took a few steps back, covering his mouth and making a strange sound. Blue Light Red? He touched his waist and found that there was not even a trace of white mark left. Blue Light Red was shocked. Are the monsters in this world so weak? This strength is too embarrassing for monsters. Apologize to all the monsters who have appeared from Shocker to the Clesi's Empire. Goo. The locust monster still didn't give up, thinking that Blue Light Red might just have a harder shell, then hit the vital point. Shaking his head and spitting out a mouthful of blood, the locust man attacked again, stabbing Blue Light Red's facial compound eyes with both hands. Blue Light Red, he suddenly stretched out his hand, and he was the first to arrive. He grabbed the opponent's neck with one hand and lifted him up. Nan Kotaro. He grabbed the black arm with both hands and struggled desperately, but the opponent's hand was like an iron clamp, tightly clasping his neck, and it was getting tighter and tighter. Cough, cough. Nan Kotaro couldn't help coughing dryly, and his eyes were blurred. After a while, Nan Kotaro, who was pinched and lost consciousness, automatically cancelled his transformation and stopped moving like a rag doll. So weak. Lan Guanghong muttered in disgust. He now understood why the monsters in this world were oppressed by humans, instead of planning to destroy the world all day long like normal monsters. As I said before, it's embarrassing. He is stronger than ordinary people, but the strength is very limited. I'm afraid it's difficult for him to even block guns and cannons with his flesh, and the locust monster in his hand has a belt. Maybe he is a Kamen Rider, but he lacks some kind of opportunity and has not yet formed. Huh, you picked up your life. In view of the possibility that he is also a knight, Lan Guanghong did not kill him, but just threw him in the grass by the roadside. When he came to the girl, Lan Guanghong looked at her and felt a little familiar. Isn't this that person, Izumi Aoi? That what a coincidence. I just saw her speech on TV, and now I see her in person. Fate, wonderful. Gently shaking his head and sighing, Lan Guanghong reached out and patted the girl's face. Hey, Miss Izumi. Wake up, the fantasy time is over. At Lan Guanghong's call, Izumi Aoi slowly opened her eyes. Who are you? She asked with some vigilance, shrinking her body. Just a kind person passing by. Lan Guanghong smiled brightly. Just passing by here. I saw you being kidnapped by a sloppy man in black, so I rescued you. You're welcome. Izumi Aoi blinked. That locust uncle. But he just saved me from the spider monster who wanted to kill me. Lan Guanghong also blinked, and his smile was a little stiff. Hit the wrong person. Then why did he come up and do it without saying anything? Wait. Could he think I'm in the same group as that spider monster? The awakened Xiao Kuei looked around. Where is that uncle? Hey, he ran away. Lan Guanghong pushed the fighting locust without changing his expression. Get in the car, I'll take you home. No, I can do it myself. You are alone. What if someone wants to kill you on the way back? Xiao Kuei hesitated for a moment, and finally got on the fighting locust carefully. Thank you, big brother. Yeah. Lan Guanghong smiled slightly, turned the engine, and left the scene at the speed of a normal car. Chapter 49. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Not long after, he took Xiao Kuei back to her adoptive mother's house. Xiao Kuei. Misaki, the adoptive mother, looked at Xiao Kuei with an angry face. Why don't you call me first to report that you are safe? Do you know how worried I was about you when Shunsuke came to tell me that you were kidnapped? Well, this sister, Xiao Kuei, is still a little girl after all. It's normal for her to panic when things happen. Don't irritate her. Lan Guanghong saw that the two people looked wrong and started to persuade her. Under Lan Guanghong's persuasion, the atmosphere gradually eased, and Xiao Kuei also told the story of being almost killed, kidnapped again, and finally rescued. Misaki immediately expressed her gratitude to Lan Guanghong. After learning that Lan Guanghong currently had no fixed residence and was living in difficulty, she even took the initiative to help him find a place nearby, of course. How could a man live in a house with an orphan daughter and a widowed mother? Handsome. That's even worse. Fortunately, this residence is next door to Xiao Kuei's house, and the landlord is her adoptive mother Misaki, which temporarily solves the accommodation and rent problems. Oh, I finally don't have to sleep under the bridge anymore. The bed is indeed more comfortable. Lan Guanghong lay on the bed and turned over, enjoying the long-lost softness. Humph. Faria floated out of him. To be so passionate about a little girl is so perverted. Hey, don't talk nonsense, I'm very serious, okay? Lan Guanghong put his hands behind his head and crossed his legs and explained, pay attention to the details. This Xiao Kuei, the people who came to kill her today and the people who saved her are all weirdos. According to normal logic, there must be a secret in this girl. Maybe she is a key player in revealing the truth about the world. Of course I have to keep a close eye on such a character. Well, that's true. Faria nodded to express understanding. He. Lan Guanghong glanced at her. Are you jealous? TCH, boring. Faria lay next to him and pretended to be asleep, however, not an entity, blue light red. The next day, inside a building with Gorgum Party printed on it, in the hall, 3 people in brown robes were sitting, an old man, a dwarf, and a woman. They are the 3 priests of this world, namely Dharam, Bahram, and Biham. Now, the 3 of them were gathered together with solemn expressions. Harry, he is indeed still alive. He must have an Emperor's stone in his hand. We must keep this imperial stone in our own hands. Bahram took a sip of red wine and a cold light flashed in his eyes. Someone, call Anemone. Soon after, the anemone monster, who heard that Black Ree had transformed in order to protect a girl and exposed himself, decided to kidnap Xiao Kuei and force Black Ree to show up. At this moment, Bai Ree was having breakfast at Xiao Kuei's house without any sense of restraint. It's just that this Black Sun is the Black Sun of the Century King. Chapter 72 How dare you? With Gorgam's huge intelligence system, the anemone monster easily obtained Xiao Kuei's address, but unfortunately, Xiao Kuei was not at home. She asked her friends to go out early in the morning and wanted to ask her friends to investigate the mysterious uncle who rescued her. At this moment, there were only Misaki and Lan Guanghong who were having breakfast at the adoptive mother's house. The anemone weirdo hummed a little tune, walked to the door of the house with relaxed steps, turned a finger into a flower vine, and inserted it into the keyhole. She didn't know what kind of horror she was about to face. Click, a soft sound attracted the attention of the 2 people at the table. Lan Guanghong held the porridge bowl, turned to look at the woman who came in through the door, and asked Misaki, Sister Misaki, are you familiar? No, I don't know you. Misaki stood up in confusion and asked the person who walked in, excuse me. Snap. Lan Guanghong grabbed her shoulders and pulled her behind her. Be careful, it's a weirdo. Misaki. This little brother, you have a very keen sense. Anemone pulled out a flower from the vase on the entrance counter, put it on the tip of her nose and sniffed it, with a look of intoxication on her face. Blu-ray red? Are you stupid? Those are plastic flowers. Anemone's expression changed, and she angrily threw the fake flower towards Blu-ray red. Blu-ray red flicked his fingers to knock the fake flowers away, and looked at the enemy with a sneer. The person who came here is evil. Are you here for Xiao Kuei too? Seeing him flicking away the fake flowers, Anemone looked surprised and puzzled. Are you a weirdo? Without waiting for Lan Guanghong to answer, she added, you are a weirdo, so why did you help that little girl? Oh, I understand, you also want to use her to fish out Black Sun and then steal the Emperor's stone, right? In this case, we might be able to cooperate. Blu-ray red? This paragraph contained a huge amount of information, and it was like a barrage of questions and answers, which made him confused. What do you mean by fishing out Black Sun and taking away the Emperor's stone? Can I live without the Emperor's stone? This wave is, should I kill myself? Hiss. Lan Guanghong took a deep breath, ignoring Misaki who was getting farther and farther away from him with a frightened expression, and asked the anemone in front of him, let me confirm, you are talking about Black Sun and the Emperor. Stone, right? Of course, what's wrong? Yes. Lan Guanghong pointed at himself, do you know who I am? Huh. Anemone took a closer look at Lan Guanghong, thinking that the person in front of her was some new and powerful weirdo, but she really didn't recognize him. I don't know. She said truthfully. You don't even know me, and you want to steal the Emperor's stone. Lan Guanghong was so angry that he laughed, and he clenched his fist and transformed. Henshin, the red light flashed, steam rose, and he turned into a knight. I am Black Sun, and the Emperor's stone. Lan Guanghong pointed to his belt, if you have the ability, come and get it. Silver Lotus watched Lan Guanghong transform and fell into a stagnation. How is it possible? She looked at the knight in disbelief, recalling the appearance of Black Sun in her impression, except that they both have belts and are locusts, they are almost completely different. Another Black Sun? Wait, since the one in front of me is also Black Sun, and has the Emperor's stone, then the mission is equivalent to completion, right? And the Black Sun I know is difficult to deal with, and the Black Sun in front of me is so young, maybe I can beat him? Well, it's worth a try. Silver Lotus eyes sparkled after she came to her senses, and she stared at Blue Light Red greedily. Great, great. God is really helping me, ha 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 ha. She laughed wildly, and turned into a monster in the white-hot steam. This is a monster with a strange green color all over his body, and strange flowers growing in his eyes and body. Her special ability is, snap. Blue Light Red stepped forward quickly, pinched her face with one hand, and lifted her up. Silver Lotus? Too ugly, I've lost my appetite. Blue Light Red gradually exerted force on his hands, and his 5 fingers almost penetrated into the monster's head. Silver Lotus struggled desperately to escape from him, and she sprayed toxic pollen from her body, and stretched out vines with both hands to wrap around the other party's neck, forcing the other party to let go of her, but it was useless. The poison of the pollen was directly ignored, and the vines that entangled the other party were easily torn off. Humph, boring resistance, such a weak power, how dare you mess with me? Blue Light Red snorted disdainfully, and added force to his hands again. Silver Lotus was completely stunned. Is this Black Sun so strong? I'm afraid even that Black Sun doesn't have such great strength. I can't take it anymore, I'm dying. Ah, I'm dead. There was another burst of steam, and Silver Lotus regained her human form, shaking slightly like a corpse, but she wasn't dead yet, she just fainted. Blue Light Red was going to get some information out of her mouth to see which organization she came from and why she knew about Black Sun and the Emperor Stone. Here. Misaki suddenly appeared and handed Blue Light Red a ball of 3-finger-thick hemp rope. Huh? Sister Misaki, aren't you afraid of me? No, I was just a little flustered just now. Think about it carefully. If you were really a bad guy, there was no need to send Xiao Kuei back yesterday. Misaki smiled apologetically. Sorry. It's okay. By the way, I want to clarify that I'm a Kamen Rider, not a monster. Blue Light Red bared his teeth and gave a thumbs up. I'm back. Xiao Kuei habitually changed her shoes and went into the house, but was pulled by Junjie who was traveling with her. Be careful, there is a very dangerous smell in the house. As a sparrow monster, Junjie is very sensitive to the smell of powerful monsters. However, Xiao Kuei didn't care. What are you talking about? She walked into the living room as she said, but suddenly froze. Seeing this, Junjie hurried over, and when he saw the scene in the living room, he was also froze. I saw a handsome young man holding a piece of dead vine, sitting in a chair in a daze with a complicated expression. And under his feet, there was a woman who was tied up like a maggot with hemp rope, leaving only her head outside. Well, judging from the smell, it was a monster. Please, I really told you everything, kill me quickly. The Silver Lotus monster cried and begged to die. Lan Guanghong turned a deaf ear to this, and just muttered with a confused look, Gorgum, Black Sun, Shadow Moon, King of Creation. What the hell? What kind of black is this? That Xiao Kuei was a little scared by Lan Guanghong's current state, and after a while he said, Brother Guanghong. What happened? Ah. Oh, it's Xiao Kuei, welcome back. He glanced at Junjie who was traveling with him, and Junjie nodded to him in a flattering manner. Xiao Kuei wanted to introduce each other, but the current atmosphere didn't seem like a friendly introduction. Lan Guanghong also realized this. He stood up, kicked the Silver Lotus monster and picked it up in his hand. You guys chat, I'll go deal with the garbage. Looking at Lan Guanghong's not very generous back, Xiao Kuei and Junjie swallowed their saliva at the same time. It feels so scary. Chapter 73, Rapid Rescue. After throwing away several large bags of combustible garbage and cleaning and disinfecting them in a nearby river, Lan Guanghong returned to Misaki's house. In the house, the weird boy had disappeared. Misaki and Xiao Kuei sat face to face at the coffee table, and the atmosphere was a little solemn. Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What? This kind of heavy air. Lan Guanghong sat aside and showed a big smile. Don't be so lethargic, can you smile? Brother Guanghong. Xiao Kuei suddenly stood up and bowed deeply to him. Thank you. If you hadn't been here today, Aunt Misaki might have. It doesn't matter. If Sister Misaki hadn't been kind enough to let me live next door, I wouldn't be here today. Lan Guanghong waved his hand and said he didn't need to care. After thinking about it, he added, actually, I got some information from that weirdo. The spider monster who wanted to kill you yesterday is not the same group of people who were sent to look for you today. Eh? Xiaokuei raised her head in surprise. Hey, are you Master Tripitaka? How come all the monsters and ghosts want to take a bite out of you? I'm sorry. Xiaokuei sat back dejectedly. I don't know why I was suddenly hunted down. At this time, Aoi Taro suddenly noticed that Misaki's expression was a little strange, and quickly asked, Sister Misaki, do you know anything? Misaki struggled for a while, then finally nodded and made up his mind, took out his phone and started typing, Blu-ray red. That's pollen. Xiaokuei solved his doubts at the side. Blu-ray red suddenly realized, when Misaki handed him the rope, she inhaled some pollen sprayed by the anemone monster. Unfortunately, she was hit and temporarily rendered speechless. No wonder she hasn't spoken since entering the house. Sighing softly, Lan Guanghong poured a glass of hot water and silently pushed it in front of Misaki. Just in time, Misaki also finished typing and put the phone on the table. Reno may know the reason. Lan Guanghong blinked. Who is Linai? It's my mother. Eh? Lan Guanghong looked at Xiaokuei in surprise. You actually have a mother, Xiaokuei, Misaki. Of course, can I still jump out of the cracks in the rocks? No. Lan Guanghong scratched his head. I thought you were an orphan. No. Xiaokuei said, dragging her chin with both hands, I have parents, but I was forced to separate from them when I was very young. It seems that because someone has been hunting them, they have to keep running around the world. Blue light red, girl, your parents obviously have a big secret. So can you contact them? No, I can only hear their voices when they call. As she said that, a happy smile appeared on the girl's face. However, today they said they would come back to see me, and they have already agreed on a good place. Looking at the unstoppable smile on Xiaokuei's face, Lan Guanghong was shocked. Good guy, these flags are all stuck on the mountain top. Where is the agreement? He took out his mobile phone. Tell me quickly, maybe someone is watching them. Seeing Lan Guanghong's serious look, Xiaokuei's heart dropped and she didn't dare to hide the content of the agreement and told him. The phone call I made this morning, we agreed to be at the landmark building in Yokohama. The airport that meets the conditions is available. Lan Guanghong stood up quickly. Xiaokuei, let's go. Oh. Xiaokuei quickly picked up her coat and followed. Before going out, Lan Guanghong thought of something and turned around and said, Sister Misaki, it's no longer safe here. You should find a place to hide for a while. Don't worry about Xiaokuei, I will keep an eye on her. Misaki nodded, waved and watched them leave. Riding on a fighting locust, Lan Guanghong carried Xiaokuei to the predicted airport. Xiaokuei, look clearly. Yeah. Xiaokuei's eyes widened, trying to distinguish her parents among the crowd getting off the plane. In this regard, Blu-ray Red is a little helpless. He didn't know what Xiaokuei's parents looked like. Even after being separated for so long, Xiaokuei himself wasn't sure he could recognize each other immediately, so he could only use this stupid method to look at them. Fortunately, she finally found traces of her parents. Over there. He pointed at a pair of people who had walked out of the airport and were wrapped up tightly. That's them, I'm sure. Very good. With a clear goal, Lan Guanghong led Xiaokuei in pursuit. Along the way, Xiaokuei's parents were twisting and turning, trying to find a way to get around. Fortunately, Lan Guanghong had amazing insight and was able to hang on behind without being thrown away. When they chased them to an alley near the seaside, they finally saw the backs of Xiaokuei's parents. Mom, Lan Guanghong suddenly covered Xiaokuei, who was about to call her, and made a gesture towards her. In Xiaokuei's puzzled eyes, Lan Guanghong pointed towards the sky. She looked in the direction of the finger and found that there was a strange man with wings in the air, flying above her parents. Moreover, several men in black walked out of the surrounding paths and surrounded her parents. It's okay, I will take action. Lan Guanghong signaled Xiaokuei to be calm and not show her face yet, because he discovered that this group of men in black were not the only ones coming. Not far away, there was the faint roar of a locomotive. Kotaro, why are you protecting that little girl? Is she more important than killing the Creator King? I told you, it's a work matter, don't meddle in other people's business. Minami Kotaro concealed the secret of the Emperor's Stone hanging around Xiaokuei's neck from his former partner, Chiyue Nobuhiko. In his opinion, he gave the Emperor's Stone to the woman, Kelly 50 years ago, but now the Emperor's Stone appears on Xiaokuei's body. Does that mean that Xiaokuei is related to Kelly? No matter what the real situation is, it is a fact that he failed to protect her in the past, so now, he wants to protect Xiaokuei. As for Akazuki Nobuhiko, he doesn't have any special purpose. He just wants to find his old friends to complete the past goals together. That is, kill the Creator King and cut off the birth of weirdos. Of course, if conditions permit, it would also be a good thing to take revenge on the traitors who had imprisoned him for 50 years. Kotaro, have you forgotten what Kori said? Nobuhiko was still trying to convince his partner, but he saw Kotaro suddenly stop the car and stared at one place with his eyes, so Nobuhiko also stopped his motorcycle and looked doubtfully at where Kotaro was staring. The next moment, his eyes were about to burst. The person who got out of the black car was clearly one of the traitors back then, and he even personally killed the enemy of his beloved Kari. Birakinia, with a roar, Nobuhiko suddenly rushed towards the target. In the process, a silver belt with a green glow appeared around his waist, and silver biological armor then wrapped his whole body. Nobuhiko, who has transformed into a monster, is no different from the locust monster that Kotaro transformed into, except for the color. He is the shadow moon of this world. Chapter 74 Harvest Day, the hatred of betrayal coupled with the hatred of killing his wife. Nobuhiko did not hesitate to transform and just do it, but Kotaro was stunned on the spot. Strange. Shouldn't it be Xiaokuei here? Why did I see Birakinia? He looked around blankly. Except for a few people in black and a couple wearing sneaky clothes, there was no one else. Kotaro. On the other side, Nobuhiko, who was the first to attack, felt numb. After being imprisoned for 50 years, although he often had great tonics like heaven to maintain his body functions, his fighting skills and consciousness had deteriorated drastically. At this moment, he was being held down and beaten by the monstrous Birakinia. Moreover, the sword in the opponent's hand is not an ordinary weapon. It is very lethal to weirdos and makes him unable to fight. Forced back by the red sword blade again, Nobuhiko took a few steps back to distance himself, turned around and glanced at Kotaro. His eyes instantly turned green with anger. Grandma, I tried my best to start a group. I thought you would definitely follow me, but you ended up being on the side OMO. Still not brothers anymore. Kotaro, why are you just watching? Nobuhiko shouted angrily, have you forgotten Kori's grudge? After being called out by his good brother, Kotaro woke up from a dream and immediately turned into a black locust and joined the battle. This time, Ma Claw's people turned into Birakinia. He wasn't afraid of facing either Kotaro or Nobuhiko alone, but if they were to face each other together, even the King of Creation couldn't stand it. So, why do these two people appear here at the same time? For a time, Birakinia was in dire straits, surrounded by dangers, and was almost torn apart by the legs of a locust behind them. Take those two people and retreat. In desperation, he chose to let others take away the target first, and then he would find an opportunity to escape. The boy in black who was holding Izumi and his wife received the order and immediately held the two people down and retreated into the alley, preparing to evacuate through another path. At this time, blue light and red eyes lit up. Good opportunity, that he quickly sneaked in, and before the boy in black could react, he knocked out the bat monster with a few bangs. Don't be afraid, I'm Xiaokuei's friend and I'm here to help you. Lan Guanghong comforted Izumi and his wife. Xiaokuei also ran over from behind, proving that Lan Guanghong was indeed an ally. The Izumi couple immediately breathed a sigh of relief and hugged their daughter. Pressing Izumi Reno's mouth, Lan Guanghong raised her index finger seriously. Shoo, let's leave here first. Oh. The couple was shocked to realize that they were not completely out of danger yet, so they took their daughter and ran away. Lan Guanghong grabbed them angrily. How fast can your legs run? Isn't there a car there? He pointed to the car coming from Birakinia, Izumi's family. The three of them got on the car smoothly, and just when Lan Guanghong was about to get on, he suddenly had an idea and turned his head to look at the motorcycle riding two locusts. Well, good, the key is not out. Hey, you guys go first, I'll take care of the pursuers. Lan Guanghong closed the car door with a serious face and watched them leave. On the other side, the three people who were fighting in a ball were getting farther and farther away and had lost their traces. Only faint banging sounds could be heard. It's a pity that I can only ride one. Lan Guanghong stepped onto the dark green heavy-duty motorcycle, looked at the silver motorcycle next to him, and shook his head with a look of pity on his face. However, at this time, a red light flashed across the sky and fell to his feet with a dinging sound. Blu-ray red. Confused, he picked up the weapon that was very similar to the Satan saber. He looked at it carefully and said disdainfully, "TSK, it really is just something mixed with something." After saying that, he put the saber behind the car and tied it, turned the engine buzz, and rode away on the motorcycle. Not long after he left, the sound of fighting in the alley disappeared, and an angry-looking Nobuhiko and a dejected Kotaro came back. Damn it, he ran away. Nobuhiko spit out a mouthful of blood on the side of the road angrily. That wasn't his blood, it was bitten from Birakinea's body. His fighting style was so wild and uninhibited. Next time, I must kill him. Kotaro didn't comment. His mind wasn't here. He was thinking about whether he should punish the person who provided the information since he didn't find Xiao Kuei today. His steps suddenly stopped. He looked at the lonely silver motorcycle parked in front of him and fell into confusion. Where's my motorcycle? Where's my motorcycle? Who is so wicked? He even stole things from a disabled person like me.